Today we are in Aberdeenshire at Anamuck Farm by the kind permission of the Taylor family, and we're here today to talk about farm safety, highlighting the importance of farm safety, particularly for temporary staff, those seasonal or casual labour that you bring onto the farm during busy times. Throughout the farming calendar there are times which are particularly busy and place increased pressure on farmers, on employees or farm staff, and also on farm resources. Couple that with unpredictable weather conditions that we face here in Scotland, and there's often an urgency to get more work done in less time. Peak times such as harvest, silage, sowing time, it could be lambing and calving, there's often demand for additional labour on farm where temporary staff are brought in to help out. Now, temporary staff play a crucial role in the agricultural industry and can fulfil a wide range of skilled and non-skilled tasks. Whilst temporary staff do provide invaluable help during busy times, it can present additional health and safety risks to those people who may be unfamiliar with the farm, they may be unfamiliar with the fields that they're working in, unfamiliar with the machinery or equipment that they're using, and also the farm infrastructure. Today I'm delighted to be joined by Andy Finlay, Training Director at Finlay Training, to talk us through some of the practical considerations when bringing temporary staff onto your farm.
For the best part of 30 years now, I've been a Lantra registered instructor, predominantly on farm machinery and equipment. I'm from a farming background myself, worked on farms all my days, and got involved in the training side of things just as a bit of a sideline, but over the years it's just grown and grown and grown. We now employ a lot of other instructors ourselves. We've now set up Finlay Training Scotland, where we're a training provider and we employ other instructors to do chainsaw courses, forklift courses, spraying courses, you name it, there's courses for everything now really. So the industry has got such a broad range of equipment and skills required that training's a big issue in that now. So sadly, the industry doesn't have a very good reputation when it comes to farm safety. A lot of the time it gets blamed on speed. Folks say, oh, we don't have time to do this and that now, but that's not really much of an excuse. But you look at any other industry, the training is up there. It's one of the key things that everybody has to go through all their courses and that before they're allowed into the workplace and that there. They're inducted in the environment and whatnot there as well before they're actually let loose on the workplace. But again, agriculture tends to be slightly different. What we tend to forget is farms, there's not a lot of staff now on your average family farm, and quite often there's always assumptions made that everybody knows what they're doing kind of thing, and quite often we've got a lot of farm staff now, especially part-time farm staff that possibly aren't from a farming background, and they'll be thrown in at the deep end, and again, quite often the farmer will just assume that they know, but if nobody's actually taking the time to show them or tell them, then it's not very fair on the staff sometimes, so there can be a bit of a disadvantage. So we recommend that the employer does take a bit of time to spend time with them, show them the equipment, show them the environment, go through risk assessments, method statements, whatnot there as well. Emergency procedures, just go through all that. If you look at any other industry, construction, the oil industry, anything like that, they'll spend days, weeks going through all that kind of stuff with employees. But in agriculture, we tend to get a half-hour induction and then we're thrown out there and just left to go on with it, and it's, as I say, it's no ideal. Regardless of, again, it tends to be fire brigade stuff. You mentioned machinery rings. They tend to phone machinery rings and they want somebody now. And chances are it'll be in the middle of harvest, in the middle of silage season, and the poor worker will possibly turn up. There's a tractor and trailer sitting there. The farmer's possibly out in the field working a combine or a silage chopper. And again, quite often the employee won't even see anybody. He'll just rock up, jump onto the tractor and head away. But again, the employer should really take a bit of time, meet the employee, go through the farm with them, show them where everything is, all the facilities, toilets, hand washing, fire exits, fire extinguishers, first aid kits, all these kind of things. It doesn't take that long. to go through that. And also, again, don't assume anything, you know, because quite often, you know, a lot of these folk, they're desperate wanting a job, and, you know, they'll possibly say, oh yeah, I've got experience, blah, blah, blah. But it's not until you actually get them on the seat and get them out there that you actually see how experienced they actually are. So again, it's the employer's responsibility to take a bit of time, sit with them for a bit first, show them what you want them to do, and it gives you a chance to see what their capabilities are, and then you can take it from there. So obviously our business is certification and training, but it's not just, I mean, there's the legislative certification like the pesticides and all these kind of things that you need. But, you know, we run a lot now. In fact, this year we've run more tractor driving courses than we have done forklifts, pesticides or anything else. There's more and more people now, especially youngsters, coming to us and asking to do just a basic tractor driving course. And it's so that come summertime, they can get a job carting bales, carting straw, and just helping a farmer. Because again, it's the farm's responsibility to ensure that they are trained on that bit of machinery. So technically, anything you've got on the workplace, you should be trained on that bit of kit. But a lot of these kids now are going in summer holidays in particular, they're getting themselves on a couple of days course, they're getting the basics on a tractor, for example. We're really hitting home the safety side of things not there as well, all the basic manoeuvres and whatnot, so that they've got the fundamentals not there initially. And then when the farmer gets them, then at least he knows they've got a certain level of competence and that there. Don't get me wrong, you still need to be supervising them, but there is a base level has been set and that there as well. So the list is endless on a farm. And the thing is, every farm is different. I mean, today we're on a mixed arable stock farm, which is quite good for us just to highlight some of the key things not there. But you know, like your arable farms will have dust, for example, pesticides, and a lot of big machinery and that in general going about as well. If we look at the stock farms, obviously we've got the livestock side of things, but then we've got slurry. Again, they'll possibly have pesticides, but there might be some other drugs for livestock and that there as well, all these things to look at. Most farms nowadays, somewhere there'll be an overhead power line. And the problem we've got, as you can see with the size of some of these machines now, there's not a huge distance between the machine and the power lines. So again, the utility companies have got specifications, distances that you need to keep from these overhead power lines. So you really need to watch out for this. Tipping trailers, which we'll have a look at later on, again, a lot of folk forget how far up these trailers are actually tipping as well, and they're going up closer to cables and opening parts of machinery and that as well. So, but again, this is all down to the farmer to spend a bit of time going through things with the staff and saying, right, you need to stay away from that bit there because there's X, Y, Z. There could be holes, a slurry pit, for example, and uneven ground, all these kind of things that they need to take into account as well. So just make them aware of their farm. And again, a lot of farmers, they've been born and brought up on that farm all their days, so they know everything on the farm, but they forget that actually somebody coming in new doesn't know every, conceivable part of the farm. So they do need to spend a bit of time with them. So. From an emergency procedure point of view, again, just the basics, even having a first aid kit, fire extinguishers, and again, making sure that everybody knows where all these bits of kit are. A lot of places we go to now, some of your bigger farms will even have a defib, or there'll be one nearby, which is good to know in that as well. But simple things like hand washing facilities as well, toilets, knowing where that is, letting them see where everything is as well. We've got things like what 3 words, make sure employees know about that. So if they need to get somebody there in a hurry, I mean, again, chances are they're on a strange farm. The postcode and farm tends to take you anywhere really. But if you've got the what 3 words, so if the staff know about what 3 words, if they're in the middle of a field and something goes wrong, they can get somebody straight there quite easily. Emergency contact details, again, make sure you've got all that in place as well, and also make sure that there is some kind of lone working procedure in place as well. So if you've got staff out there working on their own, and if sadly something might happen, then the farmer knows where they are and they can come and get them sorted out. So PPE, again, every farm's different. When we go into like big grain stores, big arable kind of outfits, you'll see a lot of folk wearing high-vis vests, high-vis boiler suits and whatnot there as well. The main thing probably we've got across the board would be safety boots, steel toe cap boots, whether it's welly boots with steel toe caps or just working boots and that there. So again, that's one of the basics. Gloves, we'll have a look at PPE in a wee while, but even just gloves again for working with oil pipes in the back of tractors, grease, fuel. Again, making sure you've got a pair of gloves, because bearing in mind when you're out in the farm in the morning, you could be out there for 10, 12 hours before you're back home. So you want to if you've got a good pair of gloves, when you're sitting having food and that later on, you're not getting contaminated with oil or whatever you've been working with and that there as well. So in some cases, if you're working, if it's a construction site on the farm, you might have to have some kind of head protection that there as well. But again, every farm's different, and that should be written into the risk assessment. And again, employees need to be made aware of that as well. So what I'm finding as well now in the industry is that the mindset is changing. This generation now that's involved in farming, they are aware of the fact that there's a lot more responsibility on them as employers, and that they have to abide by all these rules and regulations that we've got out there now. So when it comes to PPE and training, for example, these are quite high now on the list of things that they have to get covered with new employees and that as well. The health and safety guidelines are quite easy to find on the internet nowadays. Health and Safety's got a great website. You can go in, there's a specific agricultural section in there they can click onto, and it gives them all the publications. Most of them now you can download them free. Again, at the shows you'll find publications kicking about as well. Even getting in touch with Lantra, and obviously on the courses we hand out all that documents and that's all readily available. So. Okay, so you can see the distance coming up in a lot of these tractors now. Again, we said earlier on, they're getting bigger and bigger now. So make sure you're using the handrails. It's very much like a ladder now. And when you're getting back out of the machine, make sure you reverse, you turn and reverse back out of the machine, again using the handrails as well. Once you're in the cab, get yourself, get the seats set, the steering wheel, etc. set. And again, it's recommended that you're also wearing the lap belt. So depending on where you're going, this could potentially keep you inside the safety frame of the machine. So if this tractor was to overturn, the lap belt will keep you in this safety cab, and hopefully you would then survive if the machine was to overturn. You'll also see that we've got a passenger seat here, which is very much designed as an instructor seat actually. So there's no excuse now for the farmer not spending a bit of time with the operator. He can sit in with them and they can go through all the controls, go for a drive, make sure that they're happy, and before they get let loose, that the farmer is happy with the operator and that there. And again, just look at these modern machines and that now. There's so many switches, dials, screens and whatnot on here now. If we compare, turn the clock back 10, 20 years, all we had was a few levers and some pedals. But now it's very much, the tractors are, they can be set differently for each operator as well. So again, it's quite important to make sure that the potential operator does know how the machine has been set up and how to get the best out of the machine as well. So this particular machine has a power takeoff, a PTO here, and you can see we've got a good guard now on here. So this plastic guard must be in place. It's a legal requirement that this is all guarded. The chains are in place, and on both ends there's a good overlap there as well. Now ideally you shouldn't be near the PTO when it's working, and especially if you're connecting it or if you're maintaining the PTO for any reason, make sure that everything's switched off. So we've got what we call safe stop. So the tractor should be switched off. Ideally the keys should be out and in your pocket. So when you're connecting this on, everything is safe, and it also makes it a lot easier to connect up as well when everything's switched off and everything's safe and that there. So another common job on a farm would be cutting grain, for example. And again, years ago, a simple grain trailer would have had an electric connection. It would have a tipping pipe, an oil pipe, and a hydraulic brake. But now we look at these modern trailers, and again, there's a range of connections that we need to make sure are engaged properly. So we've got the oil tipping pipe. We've got, in this case, we've got a dual ram that's working the hydraulic tail door. There's oil, but there's also air brakes on this trailer as well. So again, depending on the speed and the design of the tractor, you're going to have to make sure you've got the appropriate brakes connected up. We've also got an electric connection in the back here as well. So even a simple thing like a grain trailer it's important to make sure that the employer spends a bit of time to make sure that the operator knows how to connect this correctly so that they're safe for operating on the farm, and also they're complying with legislation on the main road as well. ATVs are quad bikes, very popular on farms now, both on arable farms and stock farms. Again, very tempting for workers not on site if they're left unattended. Ideally, these should be left in the safest state as well. So any machine you leave unattended, make sure it's in the safest state, so the keys are out. So if somebody's having a wee look around, they can't actually go and start up the machine and drive it if they shouldn't be on it. Again, there's specific training courses on ATVs as well. There's quite a lot to cover with them, as well as the PPE side of things, so your protective equipment you need. It's a legal requirement that you're wearing head protection on the quad as well. A good strong pair of gloves, strong footwear, just for operating the machine as well. Again, something to be aware of, you'll see all the manufacturers' recommendations as well, that the bulk of these machines are no under 16, so there shouldn't be anybody under the age of 16 operating or on the machine at all. So again, from a PPE point of view, again, every site is specifically different as to the PPE you'll require. In some cases you might need a high-vis vest. If we're in an engineering environment, for example, you might need flame-proof boiler suits, and a lot of boiler suits now have got high-vis built in, so it saves having to wear a vest. You can actually have the high-vis built in with the stripes and that there as well. If you're working in dusty environments like grain stores, for example, again, dust masks, make sure you've got the proper masks, eye protection, goggles, whatnot there as well, and also safety boots. Again, there's various different styles we need, so again, every working environment's different. And again, it's up to the employer to make sure that they're providing the adequate and appropriate PPE for their staff as well. So again, part of the induction, we need to look at stacks. For example, stacks of bales like what we've got here. If it's a potato farm, we could have potato boxes as well. And again, we need to highlight the risks we've got. It's very tempting to go climbing up the bales and that as well. Same with potato boxes. So again, the employer needs to highlight the risks that are involved with stacks like this here as well. Other issues we've got is obviously we've got combustible material here as well. We could have fertiliser as well. So again, it's worth remembering that the farmer or the employer needs to cover, highlight that there might be a designated smoking or a vaping point as well, so that they're away from any combustible material like this as well. So again, quite often casual staff will be asked to help assist in livestock duties and that as well. So you can see we've got a cattle crush here. Quite often the staff might have to be at the back end of the race here as well. So again, make sure that they're aware of exit points as well. They shouldn't be in here on their own, and again they should be supervised as well. So again, there should be a risk assessment done here so that everybody knows where they should be and the danger points and that in here as well. So again, another popular bit of kit on a farm is a telescopic forklift. We also get the smaller industrial masted machines in some cases as well. Again, very specialised bits of kit. We tend to have trained operators designated to operate these bits of kit. So if you are intending your casual staff to be using a machine like this, we certainly recommend that you put them on a proper training course to make sure that they are competent to operate this bit of kit and that as well.